What's going on, world? It's your man Chuck Creekmur, aka Jigsaw, and I'm here with one of my favorite groups of all time, revolutionary but gangster, Dead Prez, and one Stic.Man. What's good with y'all?
I'm here, brother.
Motion.
Salute to you. Good to see you, Chuck.
Salute. Yeah, good to see both of you. Um,
Salute.
Glad that we could catch up and chop it up, man. You know, I've never interviewed y'all before. Not. I don't think I've ever interviewed y'all.
Wow.
Which is weird. It's very strange to me because we've
Feel
known
like
each
we
other.
did. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
I don't think so. Maybe it was before MySpace or something. You know.
Yeah. It's been a while. If so, it's been a
Yeah,
long time
yeah.
for
It's been a
sure.
long time. Well, first of all, man, I want to say it's good to see y'all. Good to see y'all healthy. Good to see y'all. Literally, um, you guys have an event coming up. Let's talk about the event and the celebration of Let's Get Free 25 years. Let's just get right into that, and then we'll talk a little more about it.
Hey, I mean, look, in Brooklyn, we touching back in hometown and ground zero, the center point of where we
Yeah.
created a lot of this legacy that Dad Prez carries in Brooklyn. So it's
Mhm.
only right that we bring it to Brick. Community organization, community based. You know what I mean? Supporting, this art and so many other arts in these ways. So on the 28th, we gonna pull up on that goddamn stage, man, and do what we do best, man. 25 years of Let's Get Free. Since we dropped it, it'll actually be 25 years plus about 2 weeks. But yeah, you know what I mean? It's that time, man, and I can't believe we're here. So, you know,
February 8th,
yeah,
2000.
yeah.
Now I will never forget where I was when this album came out and where I was in life. I was in a major transition period in my life, and I moved. That's when I first moved to New York.
Wow.
I moved right after probably March of 2000, and so this album was kind of like that
Like
was my
welcome
hype.
to New York. You know what I'm
Welcome to
saying?
New York, yeah.
What a welcome.
Exactly. Yeah. But it was a but Let's Get Free is a revolutionary album. And it's hard to even verbalize how important the album is, how dope it is, right? Like let's keep that in the front too. It's a classic project. But it moved us in ways that most music doesn't move us anymore. And it was a throwback type of album in terms of thinking about Public Enemy, X Clan, um, and it wasn't out of alignment with others like say Most Def and Talib, but it felt a lot more aggressive to me,
Mm, mm,
which
mm,
was still the time I was on as well.
mm.
Can you tell me what you guys were going through, what you were thinking, and actually the creation process?
I'll let you
Oh
do it,
man,
Stick.
man. My brothers, we had came up from Florida uh to land a record deal and get in the game professionally,
Hmm.
and went through some stints of homelessness and not
Hmm.
knowing what when the next nothing was going to be, and linked with Lord J from Brand Nubian.
Hmm.
And long story short, that's how we cracked off the first project. And we was in a state. I think I could speak for us both, but we didn't know if this was going to be our only record. You know what I mean? It was like give it everything you got,
Hmm.
say what need to be said. You know what I mean? Hold no punches, and
Hmm.
do it for the things that don't get said. You know what I mean? Really sacrifice that, kamikaze that shit. On the industry, and so
Hmm.
that was the mentality. Like, and me and M have talked through the years about how Let's Get Free was kind of like a table of contents if in the book of Dead Prez. It was, you open a book, it tell you we're gonna touch on all these things, you know what I mean, in the book. So when you look at the 14 tracks on Let's Get Free, you know, everything from the police state to mindsets to be healthy. You know what I
Mm,
mean? These were important chapters
mm,
in what we feel like is a part of growth and development and just revolutionizing ourselves. So, it's
mm,
about getting that out, getting that knowledge into the hands of the people, and also inspiring people to see is some of us ain't scared of the smoke. Like we
mm.
actually can take this mic and speak to the real issues fearlessly and let it be said and felt and have an impact. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. For sure.
Anything to
I
add on?
I agree.
Yep.
I just gotta agree. That's what we were feeling. And then Brooklyn became the petri dish, and like so, we were transferring kind of this thing from the ancestors, and then we would bring in kind of what we all the work we had been doing outside of New York, which was really community revolutionary resistance work, and
Mhm.
even working ourselves. Like we said, we were like, you know, one pistol shot away from not making it. You know what I'm saying, to New York. And I think, landing there and seeing people like,
Real.
Yassine, running into these brothers very organically, you know
Mm,
what I mean? Was really it helped us really see that there could be some like-minded synergy
uh-huh.
and camaraderie, even though, like you said, I mean, it's an interesting choice of words, aggressive.
Uh,
What we did have a sense of urgency, and I think that urgency was based on the fact that, like, I think what we feel now in terms of like the timing of, like, white power and its like looming effect on our lives,
yeah.
we felt it then. and
Right.
and um and it was the urgency of the call. So I just want to add that on, man. It was a beautiful time to create into that, and that because you have to say what you're saying, like you mean it, and like Stick said, like we might not never get another chance to say nothing.
Yeah.
So that's what
Okay.
it was.
Right.
You guys met in college, which I thought was interesting. Um, FAMU, correct? Yeah, FAMU.
I gotta say, and just to give it the most correctness,
Mm-hmm.
I was the only one who was enrolled at FAMU. You know what
Okay.
I mean? Yeah. So
Okay.
I had come there
Okay.
late 90, maybe 90, around 90 91, and
Okay.
and when I came, man, Stick was already at work, man.
Yeah.
He was already doing work, but it definitely he wasn't no student on the campus. He was, what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Where did you guys mind states come from? I mean, I know you're originally from Brooklyn. Stick, you're from Florida. But where did this was this just lightning in a bottle? How did this come together this way? I can't figure
I
it out
mean,
in my head.
bro, like it's a lot of ways to answer that question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Spiritually,
Mm-hmm.
you know, circumstantially, like it's a lot of ways to answer that question. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, I think at the fundamental, me and M both from a certain club of of being, in
Mm-hmm.
terms of we resonated with the people doing what we doing before we was doing it.
Yeah.
Like everybody don't see that and go that, they run the other way. You know what I mean? We seen the Panthers and was like, where my jacket at? You know what I mean? We
Mm-hmm.
seen it, um, Fela and Pop and the revolutionary side of people. That's the part that was the flower to us. That was like, that's the fruit, you know. So I believe when it's just in you. Like it's certain people that laid down for oppression, and there's certain people that fight back. Whether
Yeah.
that's in business, in music, wherever it's at, you gonna feel like Malcolm said, feel niggas and house niggas.
Yeah.
So I think that's just been in us from birth, but circumstances, like soil You know what I mean? The certain conditions of the soil that seed, gave birth to what the world see as dead prayers. You know what I mean? But it was
Mhm.
always in us to question things and to fight back and to respect the real. You know what I mean? So the movement that M was talking about, the Uhuru movement, played a big role in shaping our political analysis of the world,
Mhm.
at that time for sure. And but my own path, I was kicked out of high school for doing certain raps with speaking to the issues. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I think it was meant to be on a spiritual level. Like there's people who meant to do certain things, and I'm really grateful. Ain't nothing greater than being on purpose. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I gotta say, yeah, adding on to what Stick said, analyzing too what he was saying while he was saying it. I do know that the similarities that we held were that, you know, we were unglued from the system. Like we knew, like that way ain't the right way. We knew, we had smelled that there was something that wasn't right about this thing.
Right.
Now, what I have to say is, unfortunately, now in hindsight, I saw that there were many people who were feeling the way we were feeling.
Right.
And it was the impetus and the input that happened subsequently to us meeting that helped us become, I think, transform into something that was really gave us a different trajectory.
Yeah.
Again, when you come into the system wanting to tear it apart,
Mhm.
it changes what how you function. You don't hold the same value system, and we didn't. Even for hip hop, no respect, not even for the contract while we were signing it. You know what I mean? Like it didn't. It like for real. It was
Yeah.
about we know in reality, if we can get our hands on some material freedom, none of this shit ain't gonna matter no way because we can redefine what we do with music. And I think
Teach.
the fact that we was unglued really helped us to not give a fuck about a lot of things that people really, I don't know how to explain it more eloquently, but in general, that's kind of what it was, man. And I'm so happy that I found a partner like Stick. You know what I mean? Like again, as we grew up and become worldly people and men, we met people and connected with beings who resonate the same way, and
Yeah.
it feels good to know that because there were certain times in that we felt that we might be lonely soldiers in this. You know what I mean? So
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah. So anyway, yeah,
Back to the album a little bit. I mean, the album it's almost 70 minutes long. From the intro, Wolves. I mean, it just takes hold. Then I'm an African, and and like and Stick referred to it almost chapters, which is a very interesting way to think about it because each song is pretty much a topic. It's a each is a heavy topic, heavy, thoughtful, topical. Um, I mean, I don't know exactly what the question is here, but it's very dense. It's like hits you hard. You even have Prodigy and Mobb Deep on here. Be healthy, which I found always to be interesting in that most people didn't realize P's real mentality. So at
yeah.
the time, I worked at a place called House of Nubian,
Oh yeah.
a bookstore.
Yeah, I
Oh
Well,
yeah.
remember that.
yeah, House of Nubian,
Remember
and P used to,
Tagisi over there. Yeah,
huh?
the homegirl Tagisi used to work over there too. Yeah,
Yeah. Yep. I was
yeah.
there for a bit of time, and P used to come in there a lot. And I said, "Oh, okay. I see what type of time P really on." Even though murder
Mm-hmm.
music was popping around that time too.
I think we got
Yeah,
a chance to know P in the same kind of personal way. Not
Mhm.
so much as an introspective, like educated, learned brother, well read and like deep on many levels, but
Mhm.
it came as a consequence of knowing. that we felt the same way about being a part of the same record label,
Right. Right.
and we learned that he like he didn't really give a fuck neither. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, it was fueled by a very personal things. And so I was really I'm really honored that I got a chance to know that as well. Maybe Stick want to add on too, you know, because
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that
I mean,
brother.
yeah, for sure. Mob Deep definitely as far as duos, you know,
Mhm.
OGs to us. We was watching Mob Deep, inspired by Mob Deep, and the broadness that they was able to create, but art like at a high level. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But kept it street, but it was sophisticated at the same time. You know,
Yeah.
so just as artists, you know, when we saw what that chemistry was, I think it baked into what we saw. We have similar, and but they gave us a template and a just an example to be inspired by. Like they set a bar. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like Pia be spitting and but then Have will come in and you be like, damn, do I like Have verse best or P?
Right.
And you know that neck and neck of it, and then Have gonna cook the beat up that just fit their voice like no other producer could do. And so Mob D had a big impact on our approach and even our early sound and even some of the lingo and shit because we was listening to Mob so hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they very much a part of the rebel spirit that you hear in Let's Get Free. You know what I'm saying? Not just the
And
be healthy, but the sound. Yeah.
Yeah.
and I gotta say, man, like you talked about the density of the songs, you know,
Mhm.
what when I unpacked that, you know, we were literally trying to, you know, we weren't taking no bars off. So it was as if you if this was going here, what you was going to hear, we was going to give you an earful.
Yeah.
And and Sick was a great practitioner and reflect self reflection for me at helping me be able to be succinct in the lyric
Mhm.
so that it gets right there without and cutting all the fat off. You know what I mean? So you could get all the protein out of it. And
Mm.
so, you know, the songs definitely weighed in because they are chapters of our life that we felt like, okay, if there's a 10-point platform that Huey P. Newton gave us that addressed the issues and agenda of the community,
Yeah.
we didn't want to have that as an album exactly per se, but
Right.
we wanted it to be damn near
Mhm.
symbiotic with it. So yeah, we wanted to be able to say what we said
Yeah.
clearly, you know what I mean, and address it.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
You know too, we don't get to talk about the craft side of the type of music we make. And
Right.
like when you talk about the topics, right? Like a
Mhm.
big influence for me in that vein was Curtis Mayfield. You
Mhm.
know, Curtis Mayfield is somebody who I've studied and admired. Like, he a Jesus of music to me. Like Coltrane is in jazz. And
Mhm.
his what he did with Superfly, um, to me is one of the most brilliant pieces of music ever because he was able to take what would have been a black exploitation, pimps and hoes and the regular story, and he humanized them characters.
Yeah.
He humanized that story so that it wasn't a caricature, but it was actually an intimate, real reflection. Like they wanted to sell you the game, but Mayfield was like, I want to expose the game,
Right.
through this, right? So seeing that, right, and the brilliance and the choice, the side he stood on to do that, right? Made when I looked at music, I'm like, you can actually say some shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're not pandering to your audience. You're not like, oh, niggas want to hear some gangster shit, so I'm gonna give you some gangster shit. Yeah, you want to hear some gangster shit? Let me tell you some perspectives in that, though,
Yeah.
right? And that's songwriting. That's really like respecting your culture,
Mhm.
and being relevant. Also, but given, you know, we come from this real heritage of this shit. We give something. We the griots. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We the ones who's supposed to give something to the culture, by respecting it. And so Curtis, the way he wrote songs, for me, I didn't look at our music as like I'm writing a verse or writing a rap. You know, it's like we're telling a story. We embodying something that could be timeless. Like if you listen to Day Schools, it's not about whatever was going on in 90, whatever time that came out. It's about the contradiction with the US school system that is
Mhm.
ongoing. Anytime you play that, 10-year-olds right now relate to that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The police state is more obvious than ever to people with Trump
Yeah.
and everything he doing, and on
Mhm.
and on and on. Look at Africa, how Burkina Faso
Mhm.
and certain rebellious leaders is woke. You know what I mean? I'm an
Mhm.
African. You know, like is so we wanted to we it's the timelessness mean that basically you rooted in truth, not trend, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that was that mission.
It almost feels like you touched on it. It almost feels like this could be re-released and be just as relevant now, if not more so now than it was then. How do you feel about that?
I mean, we've you know, the irony, um, good, bad, or ugly in it is that in this 25-year journey, I've encountered that statement or that feeling many times.
Yeah.
You know, at almost every juncture where there's a new
Every
elected
year.
president, new president, we always say, "Damn, let's get free." You know, I think it has become a haunting, daunting kind of mantra,
Yeah.
because what it tempts is the most elusive, yet liberating aspect of life that I don't think we can even taste. It is a flavor that people have not seen. It is a vision that we haven't visioned. Yet it is something that we I think we must have. And so yeah, man. Re-releasing it or something like it can happen. That's why we're working on new music, so we
Yeah.
can continue
Yeah.
what we said, not only on Let's Get Free, but have continually said since that time, and at least try to capture some of that love that we had before. So for sure.
Yeah.
For
Now,
sure.
now,
Yeah.
this is a set step to the side, but I remember one time when Obama was in office, we were up in the White House, and Talib was in there at one point. We were all up in the White House during Obama's time. Beverly Bond did a lot of work up there. D Nice was up there a lot.
Mhm.
Did either of you ever feel any differently, or did you feel like maybe this can be the change, or did anything you had previously felt feel any different during that period?
Hell shit no. Let me tell let me tell you why.
Okay.
Because you separate two things.
Hmm.
Now, undoubtedly, Barack Obama, as a human being, as a man, right, is a charismatic, intelligent brother, right? Beautiful family, right? And very skillful in communication, undoubtedly. You know what I mean? Very classy cat in every way. And that's not a bad look coming from a community where they down pressing everything about us, right? That's not a bad look. So people are going to connect with that aspect, right? This is a father, intelligent, all the things. And that's okay to celebrate those aspects. But
Right.
what we always understood is this was never about black and white, and people oversimplify things. It's about power. And no matter who you, if you get a Mexican descendant person and make them the president, we know how that can go. You know what I mean? Is what's your policies? Like what are you about? So a lot of our thing was, but that requires a whole lot of political maturity, right? To separate the two and to be able to acknowledge, this the symbolism, I guess, of who Barack Obama's personal character was, or it seemed like, versus what's the policies and what is the agenda of the Democratic Party and blah 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 and all the regular shit that we see now. We see it now.
Mm.
Everybody see the shit for what it is now. But at
Yeah.
that time, it was about the audacity of hope, right? So
Mm.
I ain't want to rain on the parade of, I know how, like, I appreciate, like, I've studied Barack as a speaker, just like MC. Like, I know how to appreciate and extract things. I learned this in martial arts, Jeet Kune Do. Take what's useful, discard what's not. And I think that's healthy. But politically, though, we kind of move like group think and sheep, and we pander, and people pull us around on their leashes, and they tell us who to vote for, and what to ignore and what to this and that. So artists who like us, we make that sacrifice to keep the line clear, right? Even though it might not be popular sometime, and a lot of times it ain't,
Yeah.
but we don't do that in a negative spirit, but to keep it 1,000, because now after Obama done left, we can look back at that legacy and say, most great haircut president ever. You know what I'm saying? Best basketball playing president ever. But
Right.
as it relates to the policies and the politics and what it set us up for,
Mm.
people could debate whether that was the most we could have hoped for out of having an intelligent black man in that seat.
Right. Okay.
I'm gonna say it like this. Um, you know, it's America is and always has still been America.
Yeah.
And what it stands for, um, has to fundamentally change
Yeah.
for its inhabitants in order for there to be any type of justice in that. So,
Right.
I'm from the School of France Fanon, and I study neo-colonialism well. You
Mm.
know, Obama is the most, if I can make this analogy, he's the most sinister element of the Marvel universe that there can be. He he is.
Expound.
You know,
Expound.
he
Uh,
truly he's more dirty than Black Panther
Mm.
himself. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because those guys are still colonizers. They still trying to they fight for so-called good, but their good is only good for them, only good for Captain America and then red, white, and blue way of life. I don't give a fuck. You're still on the red, white, and blue team, even
Yeah.
if you're wearing the Black Panther uniform. You on
Right.
the Marvel team. You know
Yeah.
who's the leader of that. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? And but yet you can see yourself in him.
Yeah.
And like Stick said, that charisma bombed Africa more than any other president had before him. That charismatic guy
Right.
set up AFRICOM, did some of the most insidious shit
Mm.
that you couldn't believe. If you look at the stat sheet, it's ugly. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And again, yeah, he was cool, but Clinton played the sax. Shit, he was cool too.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm.
it's really, again, it's bigger than hip hop for me, and
Yeah.
always has been. And I not to take that away from anybody who went to the White House to support Obama, or whatever you do.
Hmm.
And even people who support Trump, you please, by all means, if that makes you feel like you're more secure, then cool. But I know for sure what this government means. And I know no matter what, we can't vote our way into freedom.
Mm,
So it's a hard choice, man. You know, to be a revolutionary, you can't be one sometimes and not. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I mean, you can change your mind for sure,
right.
but which is okay too. You know, I just know what I feel, and yeah, man, this thing got to go. This whole system, it got
Mm,
to go. All of it. You know.
wow. Um, by the way, Killmonger was right. I know that you mentioned Black Panther.
Exactly. Killmonger was right.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
had it right.
right. Yeah. Um, back to the album. You know, one thing I found out just recently was that Kanye West produced hip hop, the
Well,
song.
a
Is that
version of
true? A verse?
he produced a version of hip hop. So you had the song "It's Bigger Than Hip Hop" that we know well. That was produced by yours truly, Stic.Man, and accompanied by Tahir
Right.
as well.
Okay.
But there's a version as well that happened on the album. And what's so crazy is like we turned the album in. We got hip hop, which was the last song that we made on the
Okay.
whole album.
Wow. Yeah.
And we made it kind of in mockery of the fact that they wanted radio records from us, but we didn't have a so-called radio record.
Right.
And so we give them that, and mind you, it came really organically, and we turn in the album, and then they say, oh man, we got to chase this thing with a so-called remix of it because it got traction and MTV and BET and Bigger Than Hip Hop is making its way. So they're like, we need to follow it up and make sure we keep the energy going up. And we were aligned with certain producers at the time who some we knew and some we didn't. So Kanye West was somebody we did know. He used to come to the studio and hang around and listen to our album at the end stages. And
Mm,
then later on we would be paired to he was producing for Rockefeller, and we was like, all right, well, let's try. And
right.
so we tried with Kanye West, and that's the version that you hear on the album that's called "Still Bigger Than Hip Hop."
Okay.
So that is produced by Kanye West. I also got to say, what's so crazy in that time, Juicy J did a
Yeah.
remix. It
Okay.
never came. It never came out.
Oh
It
wow.
never saw the light of day. But it was a very interesting fact. Stick. I was saying how Kanye came after we produced hip hop and helped to produce the remix on the album and just kind
Mm,
of you know putting that on record or whatever. So yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
that's
Well,
what's up.
yeah,
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. How the energy was back then is definitely crazy. Yeah. I
yeah.
mean the commingling was very organic back in those days for
It
sure.
was. Kanye was around us, man, and he was influenced by us in every kind of way. Artistically, even my fashion. He would come and take certain items that I had and ask me for them or buy them right off my body. It's so interesting to see him become who he is today.
Yeah.
When he showed up for that session, he had on some brand new Jordans, and I remember him thinking, they would. He was like so proud of these J's he just bought, and
Mhm.
it's so crazy to see him become like the Yeezy that
Yeah.
he is when he was happy about them brand new J's back in the day. So yeah, man, what an arc, man, what an arc.
What do y'all? I mean, I have to ask, what do y'all feel about him now? I mean, do you have any views on him now?
I don't have any views about him.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah.
Um,
I wish
uh,
him. I definitely wish him the best. I wish him
mhm.
the best. You know what I mean? And there's yeah, that's the best thing I can say. I wish him the best. So
Do you guys have a relation with Lord Jamar still?
yeah,
I love Lord Jamar, and when we see each other, we speak and hug. And I asked about his family and his sons and all that. I don't speak to him every day, but when I do see him, it's all revolutionary love.
Okay, and Loud Records, Steve Rifkin obviously owns that, and that was, I mean, they gave us some of the best hip hop. Period. In hindsight, was that just the vehicle for y'all, or uh, did y'all ever clash artistically? Was there ever any, you know, pushback on some of the things you were trying to say or do?
Man, never, man. Steve Rifkin is the best white man in the world.
Yo,
That's
Nah,
soundbite.
Steve Rifkin.
I need that part recorded and on loop. Um,
Right.
nah, of course, we had some pushback, man. You
Okay.
know, this revolutionary culture, man. That
Okay.
I mean, in hindsight, and all things being ratioed out, I appreciate that journey, appreciate that time. There's a lot of things that Lau was doing for the type of music like Mobb Deep and Wu and us, in terms of that platform. He believed in that aspect of hip hop in a way that was important. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when it come down to like particulars and how them contracts be looking and how the
Mm,
business be ran, it's the
yeah.
same plantation.
Yeah.
So shout out to RZA though. His chess like thinking was he was able to uh, move like a boss in a way that he empowered himself in that kind of a space. And
Hmm.
we was in the umbrella of those times, so we was able to also take advantage of that type of sovereign spirit. You know what I mean? And at times that would clash with the label wanting just comfortable slaves in a
Hmm.
way, and we want to own our masters, and they want to be our masters. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
we had to just let them know, not this house. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so and we moved from Loud to Sony to Columbia and so forth.
Right.
Uh, but that's it's part of history now. You can look at things in hindsight and have perspective that's a little removed from the urgency of the moment. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Moving on just a little bit because I don't want to hold y'all all day, but I definitely have questions. Being this is my first interview that I can remember.
that's
um,
crazy.
you guys use the language revolutionary but gangster. Um, and the imagery was it was red, black. Was it red? It was red, black, and green, but it was like gang symbol
It was bandanas.
bandanas, right?
It's
Bandana.
bandanas. We simply sewed red, black, and green bandanas together. Similarly to the way that street nations and tribes use bandanas to symbolize street flags and colors as well. Crips, blue and gray, black
Uh-huh.
and yellow, red and gray. Latin kings. Yellow and black, different, all kinds of different ways. But we were speaking in the language of organizations and people who felt like they were putting warriors out, and we wanted to unite, with the best warriors that we could to fight and bang on this system. You know what I mean? So it was symbolically the way that kind of went. Yeah.
The switch. How does that switch happen? I think about Nipsey Hussle a lot, like pretty much every day. You know what I mean? Um, it pretty much hurts a lot to see that he's no longer with us.
Right.
I wanted to ask you guys just your thoughts on those street tribes, which are commonly called gangs, and as it relates to hip hop, if you can help us out here, like with how does this narrative change, or does it need changing? Does it need structure? Does it need leadership? What do we need to do?
Well, the root of everything is always knowledge, right? And
Hmm.
the first thing I think that need to be clear is there is no place that is not gang banging.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
In the from any street, any corporation, any government, any group, any segment, sector is gang banging.
Uh-huh.
That's the nature of the animal that every people click up in their
Yep.
own interests based on their circumstances to try to get an upper hand in some kind of way. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
to we scapegoat, you know, the quote unquote what we call gangs. You know, the young brothers is, you know, involved in certain type of activities, and we say gangs, but the police is a gang. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
The Republicans is a gang. You know what I mean? The Democrats is a gang, because gang just means a group of people with a common interest moving on their own accord. You know what I mean? And so, what the idea is not to get rid of gangs,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because that's a fundamental aspect of human culture. The idea is to bang for the real shit, you know, to bang for stuff worth fighting for, to live for what is what we want to see in our communities. Like, ain't nothing wrong with being a gangster, but what
Hmm.
are you gangster for? If you
Right.
are we gangster for owning our own schools and feeding ourselves and protecting each other and learning and growing and having access to our own resources? Let's let's gang bang for that. You know
Right.
what I mean? So that's first and foremost. And I think the root of certain cultures like the community revolution and progress, the Crips, or you know, brotherly love, override oppression daily. This is the root of some of these organizations. But
Yeah.
they, you know, the FBI, and they don't make no distinction. They call the Black Panther Party for Self Defense a gang. You know what I mean? Or the new thing, they'll call you a terrorist organization,
Yeah.
right? So anytime you doing anything for yourself in any kind of way that they cannot control you with their law, you know, you label as a gang. So you never gonna, you just three brothers standing on a corner, you could go to jail for unlawful assembly in certain places. So
Hmm.
you ain't got no choice. You in a gang. The question is the gang you in the values you believe in, and how are y'all gonna fight and win? So that's I've definitely gang bang for health and wellness. I
Hmm.
definitely gang bang for fatherhood. I definitely gang bang in that sense. You know what I mean? So that red, black, and green bandana was, like M said, the language. We using art to communicate. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Something with Dad Prez, that is, and it's not just Dad Prez. Let me say this real quick. Art, right, is a tool, right, that you use to communicate. So, like in Japan, they got this thing called kintsugi, right? And kintsugi is like where it's golden repairs, like a pottery gets broken in your crib, and instead of throwing it away, you fix it by putting gold in the cracks,
Mm.
right? And then that be sitting on the old man or the old woman's shelf, and it's beautiful, right? But it's cracked, and
Yeah.
most people would have thrown that away.
Right.
But kintsugi, this art, it says that the cracks make it more beautiful, and you fix it with gold, and so it tells that story. I think that's what revolutionary music is doing. We saying the system is broken, it's cracked, you know,
Right.
and the gold is the truth. You know,
Mm.
we are attempting to not fix the system, but fix our situations. You know, with the
Yeah.
truth. You know, that shows us purpose in this struggle and what's broken, right? And
Mm.
then in order to do that, what you doing is you're not trying to hide what's wrong with the system, right?
Right.
You trying to use truth so that people see this is even better. It's more beautiful when we actually look at the issues, so we can do something about it. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
that's what our art is always trying to do. And as you know, even in ancient Japan, you know what I mean. It's the same principle. You know, repair with the truth. You know.
Yeah.
I want to just add on. I think what Stick said is valuable and beautiful, and then take that analogy back to the street tribes. Um, cutting my teeth in Chicago, which is, if people know, it really is the center of where gang activity began, like the birth of the idea and the ethos that birthed all of the street tribe, most of the street tribes in America, which came, like Stick said, from really some white boys who were gangsters in Chicago trying to hold it down. It was a reaction to that gave birth to the four corner hustlers and the Black Peastone Rangers and Vice Lords and the rest of that. So which is three, four, five, four, 5, 6, and 7 point star organizations. Symbolize all that. I know I'm talking in code, but the reason why those flags and colors became important is because it symbolized like what they stood for. And so I remember distinctly after making Let's Get Free and what happened with it situated on something like Loud Records, which was a corporation that was under RCA BMG. And so they did the thing that they do to it, which is they magnified it amongst the buying community that they knew well. So we became very popular amongst college kids. We even went on a Lollapalooza, a X Games tour. We was everywhere where the white kids was.
Yeah.
And I remember me and Stick looked around at each other like, yeah, this is all in good. And yeah, it gave us a means to do the things that we wanted to do. And all minds are welcome and needed for liberation.
Right.
But Let's Get Free was strategically aimed at the Black community.
Yeah.
It was from a frame of mind that talked about liberating, that us liberating ourselves. And we didn't want that conversation to be missed, but we felt like in many ways it had been. You know what I mean? So I remember after Let's Get Free and us doing all the runs and going around, spending a little time in the Bay, a lot of time in the Bay, and
Yeah.
in LA. And I think that is what influenced. I remember coming out to Source Awards. I had made this little prototype of this red, black, and green bandana tied together because we always rep the red, black, and green. But being on the West, it just felt so easy to put those three together for us. And I
Yeah.
remember going on stage at the Source Awards with this red, black, and green flag in my hand, like this like prototype vibe thing. And I
Yeah.
remember Snoop looking at it. I remember
Mm,
Snoop being on the front row looking at it. And I remember thinking to myself, we could connect on this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was something that happened in my mind, and maybe something that I'm thinking right now that I never thought since then. But
yeah.
I just want to say that those were the ideas that, oh shit, if we come at this RBG shit this way, we can talk directly, no matter who want to get in the conversation. This
Yeah.
gang shit right here, like Six said, we all in a gang. So
Yeah.
this gang shit, let's have this conversation and talk amongst that. And I think the vibration of that album was definitely coming from the ride of Let's Get Free and whatever. I just want to just get
Mhm.
into that thought. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. It's funny when when all hip hop started to pick up, we have still a rumor section, but at that particular time, there was a heavy rumor that that Dead Prez was gonna get on a song with Jay-Z, and it was loud. It was a loud rumor. No pun intended.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but it did happen. It did happen, and I was happy it happened. By the way, because not saying it was almost like Rockefeller, which is a crew and a clique, getting with this Dead Prez RBG clique, and I was like, yeah, that's what I want to see.
Well, you
Uh,
know what's so crazy is that Jay was running around with the bandana on at that point. He would wear it like kind of here
mhm.
and there, I hope Stick gets back into this conversation, but he was wearing it here and there, and I could tell that we have some people who were crossing in the same crew. Like I said, Ye was over there, and we
Mhm.
had some other people who were you know our circles were co-joined in that way, and
Yeah,
I could have never predicted that we would have done a song with Jay, but when it did happen, it made it make sense for me because of our Brooklyn connection, and
hmm,
because I think again he understood how to talk in the same language that we wanted to talk to the same people that we felt
yeah.
like we needed to talk to. So I mean, it happened. It that did happen. Yeah.
Well, Jay dips in yeah, Jake Che Guevara on one day, and
Yep.
the next it'll
Yep.
be the 5% Nation or Jay
Yep.
Electronica or something like that.
Yep.
So
Yep.
he does his thing. And he does a lot of give back, by the way, very, low key, doesn't not very loud with it.
Yeah.
Um
We
Stick,
we
you
talk
got
about that actually in this brand new uh book that we just wrote, me and Stick,
okay. Talk to me.
music message movement. And
Okay.
we have chapters in that where we talk about people who influence us. It's kind of like what we call our liner notes to liberation.
Okay.
You remember how you used to have liner notes in the
Yeah.
albums. And so this is kind of like this book was written in that spirit of being a liner notes for liberation. And we actually have a passage in that dedicated to, that the fact that we did uh, work with Jay and what we think about, his contribution to hip hop. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
So do you have a release date for it yet?
We are now working on a digital release date. I'll let Stick lead up a little bit on that. I think hopefully we'll get him back inside this conversation. But I think very soon, like very soon, maybe even a weeks away. From music
Okay.
message movement is Dead Prez music message movement. It's liner notes for liberation, and so it's going to be an ill book and audio book as well,
Okay.
narrated by myself and by Stick. And yeah, it's gonna drop. I think we were trying to get it ready to drop by the time we have this event at Brick. That's how soon you might see it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. You mentioned music, new music. Are you well, tell me about the new music. What can
Well,
we expect?
I gotta say we've been watching. We've been watching like what's been happening on the terrain, just in music, and as much as there are so many different kinds of musics and genre and people doing what they're doing, there are those of us who are committed to keeping certain messages out there, standing on purpose,
Yeah.
and we applaud those people. I see them, and we've been wanting to kind of get work mix it up with them and work with them. And so actually for a couple of years now we have been designing an idea. I think Stick wants to get in, but he can't get back in. I think he just texted me that. I don't know
Oh,
why
really?
he can't get back in.
Okay.
I see him on the screen, but maybe he's logged in and trying to re-log in.
Maybe you should.
Anyway, yeah.
I'll boot him out and tell him to come back.
Yeah. See if
All
you
right.
see if that works. Yeah. And then yeah,
Let me see if you can.
there he is. I think it is.
Oh, where you at, Stick? Where you at? Hold on. I'm gonna kick him out all the way,
Okay.
and then he'll come back.
Yeah, I think he said he's trying to get in the room, but it won't let him in. But I think it will once you've done
Okay.
this.
Okay. All right. Hopefully
So
he'll be right back.
uh,
Um.
hopefully he'll come
So
in
so
in a minute.
before you start talk specifically about your new music, what about the climate right now? I just said this the other day. I was like, I need I need y'all to give me something I can feel. Give me something that's talking about what we are experiencing in the world right now. Um, I've been saying that forever, but now it's very clear to everybody what's happening. And so now I'm like, where are y'all? So your general feelings and thoughts on where we are musically, particularly hip hop right now.
I just want to say, just to begin, just music itself as an entity
Uh-huh.
is in a very precarious place. I
Mhm.
think the devaluing of what this art has meant has really affected a lot of people who would otherwise be producing music, and offering in a place that I think could be accepted. But I do also believe that there's a mismanagement of what that means. There is a exploitation you know, of what the artistry has become in even a business sense, in the business model of musicianship today. So that fight is ever clear than it was with Ray Charles and his record label. You know what I mean? It's as clear as it's ever been. You know, you got the majors like Spotify, and even people who want to run into streaming more like Netflix, and yet, you know, the driving engine of this machine is overlooked more than it's ever been before, which speaks to a lot of things. It speaks to who thinks music is important and what they think is important about music. So that puts a lot of things in jeopardy. You know, and that's the whole music ball of wax. Now, if you want to now narrow that down to hip hop, which has become pretty much the temperature gauge of what music is culturally in the world right now. Hip hop has always been that, and ever so more present now. You see, I think it's even more exacerbated. You know, the this or that of what music can be, and almost no colors in between. You know, shout out to the Doechis of the world because she's dope. But then you got this huge thick like slab of everything. It sounds the same, it looks the same, and it's this monotonous piece of. And I think it is a result of, you know, the over, you know, everything that happens, you know, in music. So I just want to say that's kind of where I see music. But I do see the flip. I do see, you know, the John Connor, you know, in that revolution. So yeah, so I'll let Stick say something to it. I don't know if you heard the question.
So sorry, I got booted out this thing for a minute.
It's all good. It's
Um,
all good.
I was
Glad to have you back.
you just you just made me think of something I've been thinking about. You know how the age of AI in music, right? And
Yeah.
you know everybody worry about AI and fake music and all this shit, but you've been saying fake records for a
Yeah.
long time,
Yeah, for sure.
and the
AI is
AI
fake record.
already happened in music,
Yeah.
right? All this
Facts.
shit is fake,
Yeah.
right? All this shit is regurgitated in formulas and shit. Like,
Yeah.
in fact, the real AI, the digital, the computer shit, it might actually improve this shit. You know, because
Yeah.
at
That's,
least I don't know. You know, there might be some music theory in it or something, but like
mhm.
in general, you're right, bro. Like all this shit is just a big mass of artificial, inauthentic, unintelligence. You know,
Mhm.
and no disrespect to anybody personally. You know what I
Right.
mean? Please pimp the system. You know, for get everything you can get out of this shit with no moral judgment on nothing,
Yeah.
because the system is rotten. So you
Yeah.
gotta do whatever you gotta do. But
Yeah.
for the real ones that take this shit serious and take the craft serious, and take our culture serious, this is an opportunity to leverage, you know what I mean, all these tools. This It's an open lane. Ain't nobody talking about shit,
Yeah.
right? So you know, all you got to do is have some heart and some perspective, you
Mhm.
know, and care,
Yeah.
and get to it. You know what I mean? We definitely got new music on the way. We got the new book Em was talking about,
Mhm.
music message movement,
Mhm.
and just drawing the line in the sand once again. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
We once again, you know, all this gray hair we got, once again, somebody got to goddamn do it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So,
I
yeah,
agree.
Prez, we definitely, till the wheels fall off and the wings pop out our back, you know what I mean? We're going to stay at what we do, keep it
Yeah.
growing, keep it flowing.
That's
Yeah.
what's up. I just want to thank y'all, man. Y'all are definitely doing it. I mean, even the social media, the way y'all present things and the way we see y'all, you know, the fitness, the health and wellness, all of those things are really bringing value to the table for folks like myself,
Word.
who are all trying to get healthy. And I'll be honest, man. When I first moved to New York, most of that stuff was foreign to me. working in House of Nubian was important because they were introducing me to stuff. I was eating a Grace Papaya hot dog, and I walk in there, and they like, "Yo, you been eating them hot dogs? I smell that hot dog. Which you been eating?" And I'm like, "Yo, y'all don't pay me enough to eat what y'all eating right now.
You know what I
I
mean?
can't afford nothing else." So, but they could smell it when I walked in there, boy. Woo! Judgment everywhere, boy. Judgment everywhere. But nah, I just want to say thank you, man. And by the way, my whole community opened up to me, man. And I've been with a lot of Panthers. On the low, I have a personal link with even Tupac's family and stuff like that. Like that's an offline story, but you know, y'all have really put in the work, and I don't know how you feel it if you feel it, but I can tell you that even though some of the things that you may not even know, you have had a tremendous impact, and I welcome the return. So when we get off this, I will definitely shoot y'all my info and all that, or give it to someone to give y'all, so that we can stay connected.
Yeah, bro. That's a beautiful thing to hear right there, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. It's never too late. You know what I mean? Self-care, personally and communally, is the way, right? Daily consistency is the power, right? And impact is the motherfucking point.
All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll salute you both, and I'm gonna pass my info to somebody to give to y'all. And
All right.
did you have anything else you wanted to get across?
Hey, I just want to say thank you and thank all hip hop for always being there and telling it raw and keeping it real.
Yeah.
And we're gonna come back and circle as soon as we drop this next music and do this one more again.
Okay, absolutely. And I wish I could do that. I wish I could be in front of an audience with y'all, bruh. I mean, y'all have no idea. Had I had just a little bit of more of a heads up, I'd be there quick. I mean, you don't even know. That's like a dream come
All's
true.
well, man. All's
And we're
well.
gonna
Well,
work it out. We're gonna make it happen though.
thank you. Thank you for even considering it. And thank you for working with us on this. So
all good. Salute.
All right.
So,
Blessings, King. Talk to you soon. We definitely connect. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.